Namaskar. There is the experience of three states of being: the gross, physical, doing, talking, etc., the subtle, which is mind, feelings, etc., and then there is me, which is not the mind and the body. In that spaciousness experience, I realize that really this me, the constant me, the observer, and beyond any physical, mental, and emotional experience, this is the truth. And I know it very deeply. I feel it also when I touch that space. However, for me, there is a gap. I think it is because I have not experienced the bliss that you talk about. There is the gap of knowing wholeheartedly that this is the truth about me, and yet in the nothingness there is no experience as such that pulls me to sit there except the knowing. Therefore, external or subtle experience have the power to pull my mind and feeling. Experience have that power, even though I know we cannot depend on them. You have said this also. But even when they do play a part for us, especially for those who are like me, I feel experiencing the reality of that bliss may root me deeper and make me more subtle in that awareness. You say I don't need to do anything, but that desire to experience or reach that level of realization is still there. Now, if I look deeper into your question, you want to ask how I can experience that bliss which we talk about. You know now somehow that you are not the body and the mind, but the observer of body and mind. But still, there is this gap. And there is this desire, this urge to experience bliss or Ananda. First, it is very important to understand what is the definition of bliss. What do we call bliss? Let's go to some of the blissful experiences that we have experienced in our life. For example, when we were kids, the father brought a car, and we were really excited and blissed out after seeing that car. Then we started playing with the car, and then one day the car meant nothing to us. The car is just there in the storeroom, and we no longer are blissed by the presence of that car. So if you look carefully, you get bliss when you accomplish any desire. And you also said that in your question. When you accomplish something, you get bliss. You become blissed out. Suppose someone who is running behind money, today we tell him that you won a lottery of $10 million. He will be blissed out. But what is the reason of this bliss? The reason of the bliss is his mind was in continuous effort to achieve this materialistic goal. Once the goal is achieved, mind has nothing to do now. And the person becomes free of desire. The only way the world knows to get blissed out or to experience bliss is by achieving these desires. Another example is someone who is having sex. The entire goal of sex is to reach to a point where you become blissed out, where there is no desire left in you. You become totally desireless, totally thoughtless. You are ready to die for that moment. Because there is this continuous urge inside you, the continuous effort, a strain is inside you to reach to that particular goal, and when the goal is achieved, you become blissed out. You become happy, you experience bliss, you experience Ananda. Then what happens? Why, once you become blissed, like after getting a toy from your father, or after completing a degree, passing in an exam, winning a lottery, buying a car, buying a house which you always wanted to buy, getting a job which you always wanted to get. Why, after achieving these goals, you are not blissed out, you are not happily ever after? In fact, the trouble begins once you achieve these goals. Why? Why the bliss fades away? The reason is, although you have reached to that bliss, but you have not changed. Spirituality is not about achieving bliss. Spirituality is about being able to handle bliss. How you can be able to handle that bliss? When you change yourself. Spirituality is not about achieving something, achieving an experience or achieving anything, but spirituality is about making yourself available for the bliss which already is there. You don't have to acquire anything. You don't have to find something, achieve something, but you have to uncover and find out what is already there inside you. The bliss is already there inside you. Now, how to achieve this bliss? If it is inside me, then I should know about it. I should know. I should experience it. What stops me from achieving this, from experiencing this bliss? It is not anything from outside. It is not the external situation. It is not the people outside. But it is you who stops yourself. You stop yourself. So understand this point first, that when you are free of effort, when you are free of desires, like after achieving a goal, you become free of that desire. Isn't it so? When you become free of that desire, you enjoy, you are blissed. So if all of your desires are achieved, then you will be always blissed, isn't it? But the problem is, हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान मगर फिर भी कम निकले. There are so many desires, there are thousands of desires. How many you are going to fulfill? There will be always desires pending. Many people mail me, write to me that, sir, I can listen to this sound and I can be at peace, I am enjoying myself, but what next? Some people say, sir, I can see that Bindu, but how to experience other things which you tell us? So, there are thousands of desires. Somebody who knows the Chaitanya, he wants to achieve the world now. You have seen people, we want to change the world, especially spiritual people. If you know the final reality, if you know the Chaitanya, if you know that nothing which exists, which you experience is real, what you are going to change? The change will also be unreal. If the world is unreal, the change will also be unreal. Are you going to make an effort for unreal things? Bliss is lack of desire. When there is no desire in you, you are blissed out. Usually when you are surrounded by materialistic things, getting rid of desire is very difficult. That's why in India, most of the people, they used to go to jungles, they used to go to Himalayas, and they used to stay away from the materialistic things. The reason is, when you touch the materialistic world, there are chances of getting into all these desires. Like if you start a family, then tomorrow you might have children, then it's about their life. You have to give them good education, you have to work hard towards achieving your goals so that they can get a good education. Tomorrow they can get married to a good girl. You touch the world and desires will come. However, when you become dispassionate about these desires, you enjoy the game, you play the Leela. It is possible. Like Krishna plays the Leela, like Rama played the Leela. It is possible. But usually for a beginner, desires are deceptive. Even this desire to achieve bliss is misleading. Now, why you experience the desire? What is the reason? The reason is very simple. The reason is we have a habit of making an effort. We cannot live effortless. You may ask me, how? Let's say there is a child. The child is only 2-year-old, 3-year-old. You want that child to speak. But for the child, speaking is a lot of effort, isn't it? He has to understand the words, he has to form the words. In a yogic tradition, we will say, he needs to understand the idea, which is pashanti vani, pashanti speech. Then he needs to form a thought in his mind, which is madhyama speech, and then he need to form words out of his tongue, which is vaikhari speech. He has to make this journey from para, pashanti, madhyama, vaikhari. Is it an effort? Yes, it's an effort. It's an effort for the child. He is just enjoying himself. He is just enjoying himself in nothingness, but because you want him to speak, then he needs to go through this journey of these vanis or speeches and then start expressing himself through the words. That's an effort for the child. But once the child is 20-year-old, you ask the child to keep quiet for next 7 days. Will he keep quiet? Is it going to be easy for the child or for the young boy who is 20-year-old? Can he easily stay quiet for 7 days? No, it will be very difficult for him, very challenging for him not to speak. When he was a child, it was very challenging for him to speak. Now it is very challenging not to speak. You have to make an effort actually not to speak. But in reality, in practicality, if you see, it requires a lot of effort to speak. You cannot sleep in your deep sleep. You cannot speak in your deep sleep. Why? Because you are not making an effort. You are not making ideas in your mind. You are not making thoughts in your mind. Hence, your vaikhari vani cannot express any words. But you are not this young boy, he is now so habitual of speaking that not speaking becomes an effort for him. He thinks if you do not speak, you will go mad. In fact, he may go mad. He may not be speaking from the vaikhari vani, but in his mind he is continuously thinking. He is like a chatterbox, continuously talking to himself. Have you seen people going in the market talking to themselves? Blah blah blah, that guy came, this is what he said, this is what I have to do, tomorrow I have to go to office, blah blah blah. You're speaking in your mind, continuous monologue in your mind. Now you are habitual of making an effort. You cannot stay without an effort, that is the problem. When you cannot stay without making an effort, your bliss will be gone. Because bliss is without an effort. What happens in deep sleep? When you really sleep well. Now, when I say deep sleep, I mean you are not awake. You are asleep like a dead person. You experience that bliss. Your breath changes. Your body circulation, everything changes, everything improves. You are blissed out in deep sleep. When you achieve a goal, you are blissed out. When you are in deep sleep, you are blissed out. But when you do something, when you are in the middle of something, when you are doing something to achieve something, you are not experiencing the bliss. We are so habitual of making an effort that without an effort we cannot live. This has to be changed. That's why in spirituality sometimes you have to slow down your life for a certain period of time. Not doing anything is the biggest sadhana. Ability to stay effortless is the biggest sadhana.